This is the story of a boy whose father died when he was just 2. His mother raised him through hard work. Despite being cheated by a business partner, he created the century's most luxurious car, Mercedes-Benz. It became so famous, it was Hitler's favorite. But this luxury car has a dark past. At Hitler's command, they forced 63,000 workers to labor in their factories. Interestingly, Mercedes in Mercedes-Benz is a rich man's daughter's name. But why name the car after her? If you want answers to all these questions, grab some popcorn and watch this documentary closely. Karl Benz was born on November 25, 1844 in Karlsruhe, Germany. His dad was a locomotive driver and his mom a housewife. When Karl was just 2, his father passed away. His mom had to work various jobs to support him. Karl saw his mother's hard work and became an excellent student. At 15, he passed the mechanical engineering exam and got into Karlsruhe Polytechnic School. Finishing his engineering studies, he worked at 7 different places. He worked in an iron construction company. Sometimes he would work as a draftsman and sometimes he would become a designer. While doing a job, he sees his environment and he got one thing clear, and that was that in the future, the horse carriages will not be there and such cars will be made which will be able to run on the roads on their own. Friends laughed at him a lot, but Karl Benz did not care. Karl Benz left his job at the age of 27 and made a mechanic his business partner. The name of this business partner was August Ritter, and together they opened an iron factory. In his free time, Mr. Benz was always engaged in making this car which could run on its own. He was busy that his friend cheated him. Karl did not know what to do because his business partner August Ritter also had shares of the company, and for this reason Karl could not leave this company because all his food and drink money came from this iron factory. But in this bad situation, a girl helped him, and this girl, Bertha Ringer's name was Bertha Ringer, who later became his wife. Now it happened that Bertha's family had made some money for her dowry. Now what did Bertha do? That she took some money from this money and bought all the shares of August Ritter, due to which now there were only 2 owners of that iron factory, Bertha and Mr. Karl Benz. And for the next 10 years, he held many patents, such as one patent for how the engine battery could be ignited. The second patent was for making gear shifts, the third for the clutch, the fourth for carburetors, the fifth for keeping the engine cool, the sixth patent was on the spark plug, and the seventh was for the speed regulator. Even after bringing so many patents, this company was not making money, due to which what Mr. Karl Benz would have done was that he would sell some shares of the company to the investor and take money in return, and this process continued. And in the end, Karl Benz was left with only 5% of the company, due to which all the rest of the investors, Karl was demoted, that is, put on a small position, and Karl was very sad, Mr. Benz had come to know that his dreams could not be fulfilled by staying in this company, and he left this company, and again he came to zero. After a few weeks, the Benz met 2 brothers, Max Rose and Frederick Wilhelm. Both owners of a bicycle shop formed a new company called Benz & C. This company found success quickly. Benz had plenty of time to work on his engine here. In 1885, he built a self-propelled car, patented it, and named it the Benz Patent Motor Wagon. Its top speed was 16 kilometers per age. The Model 1 was very hard to control. During a public demo, it crashed straight into a wall. Surprisingly, it wasn't badly damaged. The next year, 1889, he released Model 2, and 2 years later, Model 3. Mrs. Benz believed Model 3 was excellent and should be advertised to boost sales. But Mr. Benz disagreed, fearing another crash would hurt future sales, so he avoided publicity. Then on August 4th, 1888, Bertha made a decision. She snuck to her 5 children at night, whispered something to 2 of them, and returned to her husband. Bertha Benz got up secretly the next day, took her 2 sons Richard and Eugene along, took out the Benz Model 3 from the garage and started the car and went to her mother, who was 106 kilometers away. When many people saw her on the way, they started ghosting in fear. No one could know what this thing was going on itself, and there was no horse to drive it. But Mrs. Benz still kept moving. At that time, the Model 3 had only 4.5 liters of fuel. She stopped the car in a pharmacy shop to buy Lagroen, which was a petroleum solvent because there was no petrol pump in that era. Bought a Lagen from the pharmacy shop and put it in the car. The most interesting thing is that the pharmacy shop that was in Germany is today called the first fuel station of the world, that is, the first petrol pump. Apart from this, what were the good roads at that time? So the car would break down in between, repeatedly stopping the car, taking down the children, the car with its hairpin. In the middle of repairing and completing a few kilometers of the car again, in the middle of their car brakes were completely worn out because it was wooden. So Bertha stopped the car at a cobbler's shop and got leather brakes installed to cover this 106 kilometers. It took Bertha and her 2 sons 12 hours. After reaching there, she told her husband from telegram that she had reached her mother's house. After a few days, she came back to Karl Benz in this car. This trip gave a lot of publicity to the business of both of them. Bertha also told Karl about the improvements of Even's brakes, due to which this design was changed. Bertha's activity gave the company a lot of publicity, and his internal combustion engine became very bad, and the Benz became the world's largest automobile company. And in 1899, he sold 572 cars all over the world. This number is very big for that time because all the people used only horse carriages and only rich people could afford these cars. At this time, the company of the Benz was running very well, but there was another company that became their competitor, and they made very good cars like the Benz. The name of this competitor was Daimler Motors. Now it had 2 partners, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach. Now these 2 were engineers, but the Daimler who was also a very good businessman. He knew how to make the maximum profit from his business. But this understanding and not that good businessman, Mr. Karl Benz was. In 1887, Daimler Motors created a front-engine car that looked like modern vehicles, even surpassing Benz cars in appearance. They later produced their masterpiece, the Mercedes 35 GP. But why was this car named Mercedes? The story behind it is quite fascinating. It all started with a wealthy businessman, a man named Emil Jelinek, who sold a lot of cars back in the day, practically had a car showroom. He said to the owner of Daimler Motors, "Look, I can place a huge car order with you, but I have 2 conditions. First, the new car has to be better than the old model. Second, the car must be named after my daughter Mercedes." The owners of Daimler Motor Companies agreed, and this model became very famous. Later, when Germany's economy was struggling, neither Benz nor Daimler cars were selling well. The 2 companies decided to merge, which they actually did. This new company was named Daimler Benz Company. From then on, all the car models released by these companies were named Mercedes-Benz instead of Daimler-Benz, including models like the Mercedes Model S and Model SSK, all designed by the famous designer Ferdinand Porsche. You've probably heard the name. Karl Benz passed away in April 1929 at the age of 84, and soon after, Adolf Hitler came into power. Hitler loved Mercedes-Benz so much he traveled in one himself, Daimler-Benz, to make the world's fastest car. And they did. Their cars won most races then. Another German company, Auto Union, also won races. In 1939, World War II began. During the war, Hitler ordered German companies to make only military products. Daimler-Benz stopped regular production and started making vehicles and trucks for Nazi Germany. When they needed more workers, they first hired women. When that wasn't enough, they forced Jewish prisoners to work. At one point, 63,000 prisoners worked for Benz. After Germany lost the war, these companies' reputations were ruined for using forced labor. The Daimler-Benz company also made a move. They took over their foreign manufacturing plants outside Germany, leaving only German plants. After this, the company started building its image. They first made ambulances, then police vehicles. Later, they resumed making cars for the general public. In the 2022 financial year, they sold 2.4 million vehicles worth Rs 13, 640 billion, almost 1.5 times Tata Motors. Mercedes' brand image is so strong that buying one feels like passing the IAS exam or achieving something unique. After World War II, Mercedes launched a series of luxury cars. In 1950, they introduced the W18720, a full-size luxury car. The 60s saw the Grand Tourer W186300, W12190, and The 70s brought the W112300AC, W110600, W114, W115200 R107 SL Class, C107 SLC Class, and W123 mid-size executive car. The 80s featured the W123 Executive and W20190 compact executive cars. The 90s introduced the W168 A-Class, W210 E-Class, W463 G-Class, W163 M-Class, and W140 S-Class. In the 2000s, we saw the W169 A-Class, W245 B-Class, W204 C-Class, and C216 CL Class. The 2010 S brought the W415 Citan, W176 A-Class, R231 SL Class, W222 S-Class, C117 CLA, and X156 GLA. Recently in 2020, they launched the H247 GLA Class, W223 S Class, W206 C Class, and R501 EQS. Did you know all this?